Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to chat with you guys about how to homeschool on a budget. Now, I obviously don't have endless amount of ideas, but I just wanted to share a few because after one of my videos, I got some questions regarding a family who was really interested in homeschooling. They were excited about doing it, but when they watched the videos of the curriculum that I was sharing, it was a little bit out of their price range. And trust me, I've been there. When we order all of our homeschool supplies for every year, I'm shocked when I look at the total bill. So I've been there and done that, especially when you consider that most homeschool families are, or at least a lot of them are one income families. And it's not like we want a pity party or anything. We've made that decision. We see the value in staying home and homeschooling our kids. So it's something that we're willing to do and we choose to do. But when you do that, you lose one of your incomes in your family. So that makes it difficult when you are losing an income, but also have the added expense of buying all of the supplies that you want for homeschooling. And there are so many books and there are so many great curriculums, and especially when you're starting, you want them all. And it's, everything is colorful and shiny and bright and new, and it's really hard to rein yourself in and tell yourself, okay, slow down. We just need the bare minimum. I love books. I'm constantly reeling myself in and telling myself not to buy it. We don't need that. We can get it from the library. We can borrow it from a friend. Different ideas like that of ways to save money, but still have a really good homeschool experience and give your kids the best. So really what I'm focusing on right now, and if you guys have any ideas as to how to save money and homeschool on a budget for the upper grades, I know a couple of my ideas will be applicable, but a lot of these are going to be very applicable for mainly younger kids, like especially when you're starting in the preschool and kindergarten ages. So that's really what I'm gearing toward, because that was what my question focused on. So that's kind of what I am going to be sharing some resources for. But first things first, my first piece of advice to anyone, especially if you're just starting in preschool and kindergarten, don't stress. I found myself really wishing that someone had given me this advice when I first started. I'm a very type A list maker, do all the things. If the curriculum says to do this, then I need to do this because that's what the curriculum says. And I really wish someone had given me the advice that don't worry about it. Your kids are so young. You have so many years to do all of those things. You have all the time in the world to learn how to read and to do all the math. And they're not going to get, 16 and not be able to do those things. Eventually they will get them. And it may be at a different level, but they don't need to be 4 and know how to read. Great if they do, but if they don't, also great. They will get there. And so, as I'm getting older kids, my oldest just finished 5th grade and will be going into 6th next year. And I look back and think, I was so strict in certain things. And I wish someone had told me, go to the zoo, go to the science museum, go to the park, go have a play date, take a walk, go anything, just have fun, play with your kids, make memories, and let that serve as their school. Read some books, sure. Count how many apple slices they eat in their lunch, how many pieces of cheese they have. You can add in math and reading and writing and all those things through your normal fun activities, but you really don't need a strict curriculum. So that's my first piece of advice. Don't stress. Don't feel like you have to have what I have. I had that for my first because I didn't have anyone telling me you don't need that. But now with my youngest, I sometimes will use it and sometimes I don't, but I only use it sometimes because I have it and I don't have to buy it again. So I don't want a lot of people to think, just because I'm using that for my preschooler or my kindergartner, that you have to have that. There are lots of ways to get the same result without having to spend that money. And I'm going to share a few of them right now. So one of the resources that I want to share that I have a lot of friends who have used this when they have wanted to teach their kids how to read is the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. And I was able to get my hands on a copy of it, but I saw on Amazon it's only $14. So if you have a kiddo who's really wanting to learn how to read and you're not wanting to spend a lot of money, resources are limited, whatever the case is, this could be a great resource regardless of whether you need something cheaper or not. But I can kind of show you what the inside looks like. It kind of goes through, you don't need anything other than this book and all of the reading, prompts and things for them to say are in here, going over the rules. There's obviously a difference between the red font and the black font as far as what you're going to do, what the kids are going to do, and obviously it gets a little bit deeper in, and you have your more difficult words. But I've seen and heard from a lot of people, of fellow homeschooling friends who have used this, and it really did work. In 100 Easy Lessons, you're able to teach your kid how to read. So this is a cheap option. And two, if you don't even want to buy it, maybe see if your local library has this as a resource. Check it out, use it, and you might have to go over your time, or maybe check it out a couple of times to be able to get through it. Or even, check it out and see, is this a good resource? Is this something that I'm going to like before you even go and buy it? So again, this would be something that you might want to look into. It is on the cheaper end in relation to other kinds of reading curriculum. So in the same likeness of, talking about reading and writing, there's always just the option of just going to your local library and checking out tons and tons of books. You can buy the early readers that kind of focus on a skill, where it might be these are, long A words and these are long E words or silent E words, and you're practicing a particular skill, and you can kind of advance up through the books. You can get just some fun books and just read them over and over and over. I know a lot of times as parents we're like, oh, that's repetitious. I don't want to read the same book over and over. But we forget how beneficial that is to a child. Think about how we sing the ABCs over and over and over when we're trying to teach them to the kids. We sing it over and over and over. The same can be true for reading. When we read the book and we have it in front of them and they're watching and they're following along, a lot of times we can be surprised at how kids can pick up certain words, especially sight words like and the, and they'll be able to see it because they've seen it over and over in the books that we've read to them. So don't ever forget the power of reading aloud to your kids and just having them sit next to you when you've come home from the library with tons and tons of books. Now, another great option that I always think to tell people is you need a dry erase marker and a dry erase board. And this one's kind of big, and actually I think I got it from like a used curriculum sale or something like that. But you can find them much smaller and cheap at your local Walmart or office supply store. But one thing I was thinking, okay, if we're trying to talk about letters and talk about reading and how to teach our kids reading and writing, a lot of times we think, oh, we need the worksheets and we need all those pretty books and everything. Don't forget the power of just using your own hand and a dry erase board. If you don't have a dry erase board, get a piece of paper. That's totally fine too. But you can write the letters of the alphabet on here and just start with one. And so, okay, we have A. Well, it's going to be really hard to see because my marker is really not working well. So I apologize, but you have a capital A, and I would say that, okay, capital A, and we write a capital A, we go down, down, across. And I would probably, if I were using this for my child, I would have her take another color of a marker and go over my A, doing the same thing. And again, if you want to be a stickler, and I'm kind of a stickler like this about how my kids form their letters when they are ready to write, I'm very particular about going down, down, across, and making sure that they're not going like this and going backwards. So that's your prerogative and what you want to do with your kid. Everyone gets to teach their own and how they want to. So then I would say, that's a capital A. And I'd say, can you say capital A? Capital A. And we might have her trace it over and over. And then I would show a lowercase a and say, okay, lowercase a or small a or whatever, how you want to address it and teach them. But then again, I'd have her trace it. Again, I would teach them the proper way to form an A. And, you know, sometimes you get like this and you kind of look like a Q. And so I would teach my kids how to make the letter and form it correctly. So then I would say, okay, A, and then, you know, have them say the letter in capital and lowercase. And then I would say, A says ah, like, and I'm not going to do it very well, guys. Apple. And then we would make the connection that apple starts with an A, and maybe even write apple beside it, so they're able to see it. So this is just, again, introducing all of the letters. So once you have done all your letters, and when I would introduce and I teach my kids the letters, I don't just introduce it and then never touch it again. So if the next day I was going to teach E, I would first review A, and then I would go from A, and then I would teach E. The same thing. E says elephant. And so I would keep going, and then once I finished E and I went to I would review A and E, and then I would teach I. And so our curriculum has taught us to go through with vowels first and then go back and go with the consonants. And so every time I add a new letter, I would go back and I would review all the previous letters that we've done. And then I would add a new one. And that can, you can review A for a week, and then in the next week, introduce a new letter. And again, this is taking like 5, 10, 15 minutes tops. I guess maybe near the end when you've learned more letters and more sounds, you're going to have longer. But the very first letter, you're going to be done in under 5 minutes. It's going to be really short. And then, throughout the day, as you're reading, point out, hey, do you see an A in that page? Or, look at that sign on the side of the road. Did you see an A on that? Or, wherever you are, just pointing them out. It doesn't have to be sitting with your whiteboard and your marker and doing that. Once you have learned all of those letters, then you start making what are blends. So if we learned all the letters and then we have a B and an A, I would point out and I'd say b, a, ba. So put them together so that we're starting to make these blends, whatever the letter is. And then you can do that with all the letters. You could do A and E and I, and so it would be b, a, ba, b, e, be, b, I, b. And you can go through all the vowels and just add them. They're nonsense. They don't have to make a word. Obviously, they don't. Other than this one, we're not gonna tell them that that's the word B. We're making blends here. And then once they've mastered blends, you just add a letter to it. And then you sound them out. B, at, bat, bat. And they slowly get it. And they're just slowly building their consonant, vowel, consonant words. And that's like the very beginning. And if you can do that, they're going to be way on their way to reading. And this is all I did was just take the letters, start with one letter at a time, make a blend, and then add a third letter to make a word. And so you can do this, again, with a dry erase marker and a dry erase board. The possibilities really are like endless. You could make lots of, then you can start teaching them long vowels and silent letters. So we know that when the E is here, it is silent, and this becomes a long I, and it makes bite. So those are ways to teach the words and how to read without any curriculum, but knowing your letters, knowing your sounds, and then just slowly relaying that information to your kids. Super cheap option to be able to teach your kids how to read. So I kind of went over how I would teach, the writing and the reading aspect as you're slowly going up. Don't rush this. Kind of go at your child's pace. If they're very eager to learn their letters and how to read, obviously, by all means, go a little faster because they're ready for it. If they're not ready, it is okay not to even broach this. Read to them. But now I'm going to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about how you could do math without having any formal math curriculum, and really comes down to just finding things around your house that could work as manipulatives, meaning things that they can do with their hands. And this could be candy, it could be Cheerios or some kind of cereal, it could be Legos if you have a ton of Legos around your house like I do, it could be, you know what, Barbie accessories, whatever, anything that you have a lot of that you could count. And so I grabbed a couple of the manipulatives that I have used and had over time, and they can be found rather cheap. We have just some counting bears that I think were like $8 on Amazon, and I have just some Unifix cubes that my kids can, you know, put together. And so what would I do with these? I would count them with my kids. We would sit down and I would just have them, let's see how many we have. You can make patterns with them, especially with like Unifix cubes. Actually, I do that with the counting bears too. You can sort them. So, you know, I want all these colors here, these colors there, these colors there. And then a lot of times what I want to do or like to do with the counting bears, so if you can see them, they actually are just little bears, and there's 5 colors, I think. We like to make up stories. And so I'll put, you know, like a little bowl down on the floor and say, okay, 3 bears went to the pool. Can you show me how 3 bears went to the pool? And they pull out 3 bears and they walk them to the pool. Oh, 3 more bears decided to join them at the pool. Can you show me 3 more bears at the pool? Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, how many bears are at the pool now? Okay, and then they count them and they tell you 6. So here we're starting some basic addition. They don't really know it. They're just having fun telling you these stories. Then I'll say, okay, 2 bears need to go to the potty, so take 2 bears away from the pool. How many bears are left at the pool? They count them, and now they're doing subtraction. They don't even know it. We're just having fun with these. Another option that you can do, especially if you have the dry erase board and dry erase marker, is write a number and say, okay, say it was 9. Hey, what number is this? You know, this is maybe after the same way that I showed you with the letters, is writing numbers on your dry erase board or on a piece of paper, having them trace over yours. They're slowly learning how to recognize their numbers, how to write them, and then you just, after you've practiced that for a while, you can pull out and write a number and say, okay, this isn't, you know, or what number is this? And they would say, okay, that's a 9. All right, can you show me 9 teddy bears or 9 cars or 9 Cheerios? And now they are, one, recognizing the number, but then able to pull that recognition and show you what it actually looks like and the amount of objects. So that's a way to do some easy concepts with math. Didn't even have any curriculum available. Some other things that you can cover, and again, it would just be coins, but teach them how, you know, that a penny is worth 1 cent, a nickel is worth 5 cents, and a dime is worth 10. Make up a fake store. Take some sticky notes or pieces of paper on their toys and say, okay, this one is worth 7 cents. And give them a handful of pennies and say, how many pennies do you need to buy this item? And, you know, go through several different toys. I've done that tons of times with just little sticky notes, and I put them on little objects in the house and give them some money and say, okay, I need you to show me how much money I need in order to buy this object. And only one at a time. I'm not asking them to add it all together, but just looking at one item. Okay, and then I set it aside, and okay, we already bought that one. Now here's your money back. Now, how much do I need in order to buy this item? So it's a great way to work on money. And if you if you look on YouTube, there are lots of skip counting songs that you can find to learn how to skip count. So we've learned them about, like with our 5s, we would count it as 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So my kids all know how to skip count pretty much all their numbers from 1 to 15 times 15 times 15. So they can do like the whole number chart. And so finding little songs like that that help your kids memorize the skip counting is a great way to get them to be able to count their nickels, count their dimes, things like that. So looking up songs on YouTube would be a great option as well to help them with their money counting. Other things that you can do are introducing our clocks. Just introduce them to, you know, not a digital clock, but also an analog clock, so that they are able to read both. Just grab one, you can draw it, you could find a really cheap one at a store, teach them the basics of a clock. Same could be for a calendar. Grab one of your calendars that are lying around your house, or, again, use your dry erase board or a piece of paper and draw one, and then teach them the difference. Start learning all the months, all the days of the week, how to write the date, the seasons. There are plenty of things that you could do just by looking at a calendar each day and just repeating that over and over. And you don't, again, need a curriculum to go over that stuff. And lastly, you're wanting to teach your kids shapes. So you can teach your kids shapes by drawing a shape on a dry erase board or a piece of paper, and then say, okay, now I want you to look around the house. Maybe you drew a circle and say, okay, what is this? Oh, it's a circle. Well, do you see any circles around here? And maybe you have a clock hanging on your wall, and they're like, oh, there's a circle. Or a square, you draw a square and you're like, oh, our window is a square. Or whatever it is, you can go and walk around your house, find those objects lying around your house or on your walls. So those are the basics, right? We really are just focusing on reading, writing, and arithmetic in this, the 3 R's. There is going to be plenty of time in the future to cover your science and your history and all of those extras, the social studies, the art. By all means, color all you want, but those things, you don't have to feel pressured to add those into your school day. Talk about those things as you're walking around the park. If you go and travel and you go to some historical site, talk about it, read some books about it, but don't feel pressured to add those into your day. They have so many years ahead of them to learn. So I just want to point out some other tips, some different resources that might be helpful for you, that if you are interested, that you can look into them. So obviously the library, don't forget about the library. They a lot of times even have old copies of teaching textbooks and different things that you could check out to get some ideas of how to teach these different concepts to your kids. Again, if your kids are eager and they're wanting to learn, go ahead, don't hold them back. But again, if you're looking for a resource, you don't want to, fork out any extra money for it, always check your library first. Other options are looking for used curriculum. So I have bought countless used curriculum either on eBay or on Facebook marketplace sites that are just strictly selling used homeschool curriculum. I would search around your local city or area and see if you can find a lot of homeschool groups will have used curriculum sales at the end of every school year. So you could go there and even buy some used things that will be significantly cheaper than if you were trying to buy them new. Now, if you're looking for something that might have some fun activities and worksheets, one thing that we used with my oldest when he was little, again, I was the type A, I needed to have something to do. I used the Letter of the Week curriculum by Confessions of a Homeschooler. And so she made this little curriculum, and a lot of times she has stuff for free. I think you can buy it at a very cheap cost where you can get download all of her worksheets and activities, and then you have available all in one fell swoop. But it was very cheap considering all the other things. You did just have to print it yourself. But a lot of the concepts and the things that I learned were the activities that she had planned out, of just doing one letter a week and doing lots of activities that were geared toward that particular letter. Now, another option that is also online is Easy Peasy. So they have a website where if you just Google search Easy Peasy, they're going to have lots of free resources and free curriculum for you to use that actually goes all the way through. So this would be one resource that if you were trying to homeschool through all the grades without having to buy anything, Easy Peasy actually covers all the grades all throughout high school. So I would definitely check them out, see what kind of resources that they have that would be good for you and your family. Another option that you have is always just finding these, comprehensive curriculum, basic skills things. So this one's kind of taken a beating, and this one was geared toward a 4th grader, but they have them for tons of different levels. You can find them at just different stores like Sam's Club and Walmart and Costco, and even online on Amazon, but they just have lots of different activities. So they've got reading and reading comprehension and English and math and all these different all these different subjects of just tons of different worksheets. So not that they have to sit down and do the entire workbook with you, but you could just randomly, 2 days a week or something, pull out a couple of worksheets. They are, can be colorful and have lots of things, little activities in them for you to do. So again, this one's geared for a 4th grader, but you could find them for the age appropriate. And, if they're cheaper, you're talking like $15 or less, and you would have lots of different built-in activities if you're struggling. And then lastly, just don't forget about your ability to make anything yourself. So instead of buying a set of math flashcards, you can make flashcards with a set of note cards. You just have to take a little bit of your time to write the problem and the answer on the back for you. Or, you can make your sight words on a card or on a piece of paper or a dry erase board, whatever it is. Just don't forget about the ability to just make something or use something that you already have. A lot of times there are kits that have this fake money, all the fake coins. And it looks super fun. They've got it kind of looks like Monopoly money, only it looks like real money. And so it looks like it's fun to play with, but in my house, we just use real coins. And then we actually get to feel the weight of them, and we get to feel the ridges around the dimes and the quarters, and see how much thicker a nickel is than a dime, and just really be able to feel the true money. So, a lot of times those things look really great, but we can find alternatives in our home or just make something ourselves. So that's always an option. All right, guys, that's all I have. I try to just think of just creative ways that you could really jumpstart your homeschool. We're talking preschool and kindergarten here, where you don't have to fork out a lot of money. This is new maybe for you, and you're just, funds might be tight, and you don't want to spend a lot of money and invest a lot of money with all these shiny, bright new things that, may or may not be helpful in your homeschool. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have anything to add, I know there are people out there who are looking for cheap and free resources that they can use in their homeschool. Please, please, please drop them below in the comments and share those so that other people can see them. And if you guys have any questions, as always, I'm happy to answer them. And until next time, guys, have a blessed day.